Welcome to Global Connections on ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm your host, Jay Fidell. Today, we'll talk about Operation Rising Lion versus Operation Promise 3. Our guest for the show is Dr. Roopmati Khandekar, geopolitical analyst here on ThinkTech. Welcome to the show, Roopmati.
Hello, Ajay. Thank you for having me on your show. Always my pleasure here.
Iran generally backs down when attacked, and Israel has generally been able to handle Iran's retaliations. But this time, it's not clear that that will happen. This has been one of the most comprehensive military operations by Israel against Iran and the most violent retaliation by Iran so far. It is likely to continue, and there's a real possibility it will spread to other areas in the Middle East. So, Roopmati, there's so much to discuss here, and we are in the thick of it. So my first question is, what are these two operations, Rising Lion and True Promise 3? What are they dedicated to doing? Who's doing what? And how is it going?
Okay, so all our discussions give such a comprehensive analysis of what we are having today. We discussed Iran as the axis of creating and the propagator of the axis of resistance, which was there. And so in these few weeks, Jay, we were talking of Trump not having a good relationship with Netanyahu, dealing with in talks with Iran and giving them space to negotiate and everything. But it was part of a strategic deception. The dialogues that Trump indulged in were a perfect smokescreen for Israel to achieve this tactical surprise aerial attack, Jay. And so that's where the IDF completed an extensive series of strikes on targets of in Tehran related to the Iranian regime's nuclear weapons, Jay. And the targets were the Ministry of Defense headquarters, the headquarters of SPND, that is the Special Forces, and the nuclear projects that they have. Also, the Saharan oil depot and the South Pars field, which is the world's biggest oil field, were targeted. Now, this was known as the Operation Rising Lion. Now, Jay, a simple reference to this is that the lion was on the Iranian flag before the Islamic symbol was. So, this was like an address to the people of Iran to wake up, and it was for the people. So, symbolically, it meant a lot for Israel to put this as Operation Rising Lion, Jay. And what happened after this was that Iran surprisingly has come up with a retaliatory. Last time, you remember, it was just threats, empty threats that were happening. But this time, there was the surprise that happened. So Iran launched the True Promise 3 retaliatory attack, a combination of precision-guided smart systems, which Iran targeted the Israeli military air bases and military centers. So they hit Tel Aviv and Haifa. Also, Jay, we know the Iron Dome, which we have discussed, that it's got a capacity, it's got a limitation, and it cannot go through hypersonic missiles. And Iran has got approximately around 3,000 of these hypersonic ballistic missiles, and they have used around 300 of them already. So that's their capacity of ammunition that they have. And the three main missiles that they were used were the Imad, which has a 1700 kilometer range and a 750 kg payload, the Fateh 1, which is a 1400 kilometer range and a 350 to 450 kg payload, and the Khyber Shikhan, which is a 1450 kilometers to 450 to 600 kg payload. Now, observe, Jay, their arsenal includes drones, which is targeted towards 1500. So, roughly, that's the distance between Tehran and Tel Aviv. So, Iran was always having arsenal in their side to target Israel. So, it's what Netanyahu speaks about since he's been at the helm of things in Israel is not false. They have always kept the other drones, the Shaheen and all, they're smaller ones, they're shorter range. But these, they have kept in their arsenal to target Israel time and again, Jay. And But this time, the IDF had targeted the nuclear installations, Jay, and the installations are deep underground because the Iranians have had foresight and they have enriched uranium up to 60%. Now, 90% is the threshold for having a nuclear weapon. So, Israel could not afford it. Trump said, I negotiated up to 60 days. 61st day is the day Israel strikes. So you can't give them that leniency you can't give them that space to be able to have weapons to attack Jay. So these two operations took place one after the other. And immediately, Jay, the US has come in with you know the Thomas Hudner, which is a destroyer, which is put into place. The THAAD, which we have discussed last episode about the terminal high altitude defense system. The Patriot is put into place. The US Carl Vinson and the Nimitz, which is in the Indo-Pacific. All of them are on standby so that they create a shield uh, around Israel in case it gets out of hand. Now, systematically, key figures of the IRGF, the Iranian political leaders were eliminated step by step. These precision attacks that took place are very, very important, Jay, because that's the only way to go for it. And all this could happen, Jay, because Israel has been weakening Iran by cutting off its proxies of Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, the US helped in. So after otherwise what would have happened? Iran was always on the fringe. It was so relaxed that you attack me and I will send my proxies to the base to attack the bases of America, to attack the bases of UK, France. So it didn't have to do anything. Nothing came into Tehran. But this time, Israel has come in a very massive way, Jay. Mossad, for the past 1 year, Jay, has built a four-story factory inside Tehran for over a year and without Iran knowing. So they like thousands of drones were made and stored over there. Iranian engineers worked over there thinking that they were working for a government project. And while it was just Mossad, uh, and the truth came out only after these drones came out. So, what happened? These large scale manufacturing of drones and the Iranian surface to air missile defense system, which was placed on at different places. So, the Mossad agents uh, placed the drones, targeted these surface to air defense systems, and as soon as it was decided that the Israeli planes would strike, these drones were activated to destroy the defense shield of Iran. That was the reason why Israeli fighter jets could fly openly in Iranian space. Have we heard an Iranian jet fly over Tel Aviv? No, they can't. But this was the kind of comprehensive planning that took place into this Operation Rising Lion. It is a marvel. The Operation Spiderweb, which we discussed of Ukraine, was just a touch. They just destroyed sitting planes. But this was a mission. They went inside, they struck the targets, and returned safe back to Israel. So it's a thumbs up for Mossad and the IDF.
So has the Mossad or Israel been able to reduce the number of missiles that Iran has? You said they had 3,000 missiles, of which they've used 300, and they have 1,500 drones that could reach Israel. Is that arsenal still the same, or has it been reduced? I understand, by the way, that some of the Israeli airstrikes have been directed at the launchers. So you can have 3,000 missiles, doesn't do you much good, if the launchers have been disabled. What's the situation? Are they still able to continue to retaliate? Because they have wreaked some damage on Israel.
Yeah, Jay, they have. Because, to be able to sustain such an attack and come back after it, they were very well prepared any which ways. They were just waiting for the nuclear weapon to happen. And Israel had this eye of the tiger approach, that they just wanted to target the nuclear facilities first. And thing is that Iran has nuclear facilities underground, so they need those cluster bombs to completely destroy. And this has set Iran back by a few years in the years, we don't know the time period, back in the nuclear program. But the nuclear program was very robust, say, and that has been happening since the revolution, 1979, the Iranian revolution that happened, and then the 1980 to 88 Iran-Iraq war. They've always been wanting to have a nuclear weapon. Now, and when they talk of wiping off Israel off the map, it was existential, and you couldn't afford to let them have this. So, whatever arsenal they had, this is the last and final frontier for Israel. Jay. After destroying the proxies, you have to destroy the promoter. Otherwise, they will again come back to rejuvenate Hamas, to rejuvenate. So, you couldn't leave Iran away. It has to be destroyed in such a way that they don't rise back. And Iran is such a peculiar country, Jay. For so many years, it has functioned with American sanctions, uh, relying only on China and Russia. So it has found a way to slither out of these sanctions and thrive, because they have the largest oil deposits. So they have cashed in on that. And despite having a Islamic regime, they have what do you say? Never uh, got prosperity inside to the people as they could have. So they have just oppressive regime, but it has just targeted all its hate towards Israel and America.
You mentioned Russia and China
Mm.
as allies of Iran. My understanding is that Russia is busy in Ukraine. Russia is busy with its own economy and its weapons development. So it's probably not supplying Iran with weapons. On the other hand, China has got some very advanced weapons, including missiles and drones. And I wonder if there's any information to suggest that the arsenal that Iran has could be built up by imported weapons from China.
Mm. Yeah, Chinese weapons have proved to be a dud. We have spoken about the imitation of the S-300. We have spoken of how in during the India-Pakistan war recently, whatever China had supplied to Pakistan was crashing or falling apart. So they don't have that precision and sustainable technology, defense technology. So for them, it is just like, let's hope it catches the target kind of a thing. So Iran will not spend on Chinese defense material as much it would spend on Russian equipment. But Russia has relied on Iran for its Shaheen drones, which it used in the Ukraine war. So it wants to help, but it, like you said, they're busy in the Ukraine war, so they can't come in full fledged. But US will come in full fledged for Israel because it's a common enemy. That's why.
Well, that's another big question we need to talk about. But my understanding, correct me if I'm behind on this, is that Israel has all but destroyed two of the three uranium refinement sites. One of them is still deep underground, and they haven't destroyed that yet, or been able to destroy it. And the my understanding is that that last one, the one that still stands, will needs a very big bomb to destroy it because it's so
Yeah.
far underground. And the Israelis do not have that bomb. They do not have that technology. However, the U.S. has that bomb. The U.S. has that technology. And so the question is, and this is a geopolitical question, among other things, it's not just a weapons question, whether the United States will either provide that bomb, provide that technology, or fly an American plane over that third Ukrainian refinement site in order to destroy it. What's the latest on that? Because their program, their nuclear program, will not be over until
Mm.
somebody destroys the third site.
Jay, of the entire Iranian operation by Israel, there are two targets. It's roll back the nuclear program and the regime change. So when you want to roll back the nuclear program, Donald Trump said evacuate Tehran through a tweet, and all the roads were full because, like you said, Trump had said that we will they were not entering the war full-fledged. So after the attack on the consulate in Tel Aviv, the US has to come in, and that's when they will come and destroy this facility that you speak about. The Kermanshah, the Natanz, the Fordu, all these places, Jay, wherever they have information, they have to be destroyed because 60% uranium enrichment means, they are weeks, months, days away from a full-fledged nuclear weapon. And a nuclear weapon in the hands of uh, a regime like this would spell doom for any which way. They would never ever follow the rules and regulations that the civilized nations who hold a nuclear weapon have always kept. They always think of the second strike capability, the responsible nuclear powers. Nobody has thought of the first strike. The only one who threatens with the first strike is Pakistan, and they were the ones who, like uh, Tehran issued a statement that if you strike Tehran, Pakistan will use their nuclear weapon on Tel Aviv.
Leave it to Pakistan. That would be very unhelpful. Anyway, just to review the things that Israel has done or might do. One is they've attacked a couple of these nuclear refinement sites. Two is they've attacked the generals and the infrastructure of the Iranian army. Um, Three is they've attacked. I think they've attacked the state TV station, and I think they've cut off the internet for Iran. I guess they've also attacked some civilian areas. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. I don't think they generally do that unless they're looking to eliminate some military leadership in Iran. There are other targets that they have attacked, and those targets are expanding. As they attack one group of targets, they move to the next. Well, the Straits of Hormuz are really an important target because just to the east of the Straits of Hormuz is the Iranian naval base. And in there, essentially, is the entire Iranian Navy, which is probably a dozen ships. And Israel could go in there. Israel has air supremacy. I think that's clear. Israel could go in and destroy the Iranian Navy all by itself. It wouldn't need a whole lot of help to do that because it has the air supremacy. Why doesn't it do that? That would stop this threat about blocking the Straits of Hormuz and therefore creating a global problem in the supply of oil and the price of oil.
Yeah, Jay, so after the nuclear facilities were touched upon, they wanted to, now the next target is clearly Khamenei, to remove Khamenei. And that the ones that you speak about for destroying the navy to navy standoff would happen at a later stage after this, because right now protection of Tel Aviv is of prime importance. Israel has never faced such an enemy who is, now they are retaliating, and we know this is the mentality of suicide bombers. They would go to the extent of destroying themselves to bring suffering upon the others. So if that happens, they have to be prepared for full 100% support on that front to be able to stop this side of because the Strait of Hormuz just affects economics, right, Jay? Just the traffic of oil and gas will be affected, and not only for Israel, for everybody. So that would be a secondary priority thing. But this priority of safeguarding Israeli civilians is very important, because see, for like we always discuss, for these nations, civilian lives are very important. Now in Tehran, when they're talking of evacuation and the Iranians complained about no shelters being built, the government has issued orders, go and hide in mosques and schools. So when the bombs strike, Jay, and they strike the mosque and the school, and there are casualties, what will they bring out on the news, and what will they bring out on the media? That the Israeli bombs targeted civilian lives when they have themselves issued that you take shelter in mosques and schools.
So, how close are we to a regime change? Trump has today called for unconditional surrender
Mm.
of the Iranian government. There's been a certain amount of discussion over the past few days about Netanyahu's plan, his wish, his aspiration to achieve, regime change. And the question is Khomeini finished? Is there a regime change on the horizon? And of course, part of that question is what happens? What happens if there is regime change? We have seen that when you knock off a regime, it's not easy to do that. The U.S. tried to do that with the Shah of Iran years ago. It didn't work at all. Look what happened.
Mm.
When you have regime change, you have chaos, and we try to do that in Iraq. Didn't work well there either. So the question is, how do you achieve a regime change where the people actually get to create what kind of government they want? And there's a lot of people in Iran would like to do that, but they're not organized. And so you have a fair chance of chaos. Is regime change a worthy purpose here? Will it happen? Can it happen? And if it happens, what then?
Yeah, Jay, see the rising lion, like symbolically asking the Iranian people to rise up to the earlier flag. Netanyahu, in his speeches, talks to the people of Iran. Trump talks to the people of Iran. But now, this operation was a big chance for the Iranian people to find ways to vent out their frustrations against the government. But on the contrary, Jay, they have gone nationalist jingoism of patriotism going on, and all of them are talking of the country, saying that whatever problems we have with our government is ours, but we would like to support our own government. So, like you said earlier, Jay, nationalism has taken over their grievances for their own government. And so we don't have the support of the Iranian people in changing the regime this time. And Jay, this regime change that Netanyahu is talking about is got the intent and capability paradox. Now, what is that about? That CJ, this Iran has always had uh, this. They have the intent to destroy Israel, but they do not have the capability to destroy Israel. That is, their nuclear weapons were not that developed. If they get the capability to destroy Israel, they do have the intent to go after Israel. So you have to destroy not only the capability is destroyed in this Operation Rising Lion when the nuclear facility, but what about the intent? The intent is coming in his head. You have to destroy the regime that propagates this intention to hate Israel. And that is what he talks about. So when the Hamas leadership was eliminated, that's when Hamas weakened. And he's using the same logic on exactly this situation, Jay. And so many people talk of America not entering, should not enter this war. But what are the chance of Khamenei? He talks of two things: death to America, death to Israel. He calls Israel little Satan. He calls America big Satan. So nothing is going to happen on Israel by through exclusion of America. Anything is going to happen is always going to be targeted towards Israel and America. They always hold this is the clash of civilization. They always hold Jews and Christians together. They want to attack them together. So this kind of differentiation they cannot make it, and this is the intent that we have to destroy. And that intent is necessary or to be modified only through regime change. Now, what regime comes? That is the fate of Iran itself. Taliban was replaced with Taliban, so we don't know what will happen over here.
That's the bottom line here. It's we
Yeah.
don't know where this goes.
Mm,
Nobody can say where this goes.
mm,
And if the United States, gets more active, more aggressive, more involved in Israel's attacks, then there will be retaliation against Israeli and American assets, not only in Israel, but any American base, any American installation in the Middle East. And some of those 3,000 missiles are intercontinental. They could reach the east coast of the United States.
Mm.
So what Iran has said is if you help Israel, including help defend Israel, we treat you as an enemy, and we will retaliate against you too. So this is explosive. If the U.S. gets involved, it'll be that much more explosive, and the world will be drawn in, just as
Mm.
the U.S. is drawn in. Other countries will be drawn in. This is a great, great concern. So the conversation in Washington, and I guess that includes both the Trump administration and Congress, is all around whether Trump should be more active in helping Israel, whether the U.S. should get involved in a wider war, how much more aggressive weapons the United States should provide to Israel, and so forth. And this is all related to the problem with the Palestinians and Gaza, and all the Iranian proxies, and it's a very confused discussion. There are people in Congress that are moving to stop Trump from widening the war with Iran.
Mm.
So where is that now? Can you give us a status report on that conversation and whether it is likely or unlikely that Trump will be able to do what he wants?
So, Jay, now see this urgency that Trump has put into American involvement in Israel. Uh, we would criticize Trump on everything, but what he does in Israel is pretty permanent. That he comes up with, like the opening of the consulate in Jerusalem. There's decisive action that takes place, and that happened in one of the cases where now he's gone for the G7 meeting uh, and rushed out immediately midway, but he got a statement issued by the G7 that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, categorically stated by the G7. So, seven top countries backing this statement was a big, what do you say, uh, takeaway from America in this meeting to just get this issue, Jay. Now, that demoralized Iran too much, and they said that they're insensitive to what is happening to Iran, and the calls that they are making to the other side of the world, the Muslim brethren, to come and unite. That is not happening. Jordan itself is again helping to bring down the drones. Saudi Arabia is keeping mum, and it's just finished a good deal with the US. So this kind of what do you say, cornering of Iran that is done, and it was never a direct attack on Iran. It was a step by step weakening of the proxies and then coming on to Iran. Now Congress giving that, because he's got such a mandate, uh, Trump, he is able to do these egoistic maneuvers in for himself. This one has turned out to be very game. It's a game changer in world politics today, and how it will be. It is going to affect a lot of geopolitics in the future too, because this is going to change. Dynamics are going to change. Strategic dynamics are going to change. Israel is going to become stronger out of this because it will exist. That's what I'm saying. It is really
Yeah.
important.
Well, everybody loves a winner. If
Yeah.
Israel wins this affair, it will have a lot of support that it wouldn't otherwise have. If it turns into a long slog, Israel will probably lose support. It'll be subject to anti-Israeli propaganda, as it has been subject to for a long time, following October 7th, even. So, and that leads me to ask you, what about the American public opinion? It's
Mm.
hard to get a handle on that because,
Mm.
are they following Trump? Are they opposed to Trump? Is it because of this issue or some other issue? Where is the American? Where are the American people right now on this? Do they support Israel's efforts to stop Iran?
The anti-Israel sentiments have always been on a high. It's fashionable to be anti-Israel, anti-Semitic. It's fashionable to deny the Holocaust. It's fashionable to support Palestine without knowing that they don't support LGBTQ, they don't support Black rights, they don't support minority rights. They don't. They have a different sense of human rights, even without knowing that the general public thinks that they are on the right side of human rights and Israel is the bad person, the villain. So public opinion is very, very short memory it's got, and Jay, it's got a set definition. It's got a set definition without any knowledge of history of what Israel is, what Israel is doing, what Israel has been through. That is not very publicized. Not many people know about it. Arafat was the smiling villain all over town, and you felt he was good, uh, but you always saw the Israelis, stern and focused because they had to focus on their existence, and so they never made an impact on world politics. But you could see Arafat running around, but he was head of the Palestine Liberation the Front. That the Hamas, he was head of Hamas. So we don't know how public opinion functions. We know it how it functions, that it is influenced by media. It is influenced by what it sees. It does not get, it does not have knowledge of what the background is. Now we will criticize Trump and Netanyahu. Netanyahu is criticized by his domestic population for the hostages, for everything. But what he is doing is in the favor of the greater good of Israel, and that fact is never filtered down to the public. Media eats it up.
One other area of public opinion we should explore is Europe.
Yes.
Where is Europe on this? Where is it now after 5 days of war? And where is it going?
Jay, UK has sent its fighter jets to support. So UK always stands where America stands. It considers itself as a big time friend and ally and shoulder to shoulder kind of attitude. France has had the meddling Macron thing that we speak about. He's got antagonism towards Netanyahu, and there was a stand in the defense exhibition this week, this today, I think, and he's closed the Israeli stall. So the IDF has issued that if our stall is unfortunately closed at the Paris exhibition, if you want to see our capability, please watch Operation Rising Lion. So it's kind of the thing that Macron doesn't support. So you have again Europe divided in different parts which support and which go against Israel. The unified European Union we are still in search of. Never going to happen.
Well put. And finally, I wanted to suggest to you that what is happening is different than what has happened before.
Yes.
It's wider, it's more aggressive, it has greater implications, and then casts a longer shadow over the Middle East and, for that matter, the world. And this is the most difficult question of all because it involves looking into the future. But how is this going to change? And by the way, we can come back to this later. Your answer is not your final answer, Roopmati, but how is this going to change the Middle East? Even if the war were to stop today, it will have a profound effect on the Middle East and possibly on the relations of these countries with their respective groups hither and yon, and on the United States for sure. So, how is this war going to change things?
This war has been so important, Jay. We cannot underestimate this because if Iran had nuclear weapons, if and the ballistic missiles which carry these nuclear weapons across 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers, no area of the world would have been safe without, away from a suicide nuclear bomb. It would have been that wherever they wish, they could have targeted. So we cannot let an irresponsible nation have these kind of nuclear capability. It'll find its way to a terrorist activity easily. What if they give it to one of their proxies, or They're fanatics, and their mentality is not worthy of holding something which has got the destruction power. Tell me, Jay, how many destroyers of the US are running around all over the world? Have you seen them going and bombing every country? There is a responsibility. There is a limitation that you have personally that you put. And these people, if you put a belt on them, they'll go and blow up a group of people. So it's like that kind of chaotic mindset that they have. And to be wary of it was he could not, Netanyahu could not compromise on this. So we had discussed it. He will go for it alone because with or without it, it's like from the frying pan into the fire kind of a situation for him. He had no escape from this. He had to do what he did. And Jay, America comes in because everything is Israel America related. Anything that Israel does, and if that Islamic country does not have a Israeli consulate, they go and attack the US embassy.
It's not a pretty
Yeah,
picture, no matter how you look at it. But
yeah, yeah.
that's the long term, or at least the intermediate term. What about the short term? How long is this war going to last? And where is it going? What's the end state of all these aggressive moves, the bombing and the retaliation? How is it going to end or peter out or result in a truce or a ceasefire? What do you think?
Jay, the immediate thing that Iran is doing is calling all its people, Oman, Qatar, saying, call for a ceasefire. And we want to negotiate on the nuclear program. How many times have we sat on for negotiating the nuclear program? They drag it. They drag it to the point where there is a place where they can restart. They can rejuvenate. This issue of not giving them space to rejuvenate, not giving the Palestinians Gaza again. Once you can do it, twice you can do it, but you can't do it indefinitely, infinitely. You have to have, uh, control over them because this drama that Iran was indulging in, these negotiations, it never went anywhere. They continued with the enrichment. They went deeper in the earth for underground for developing these nuclear facilities. They had more engineers, more scientists come in, more minds come in, and it was easy for them to play the money card after the sanctions happened on Russia to be able to buy this technology. We have rogue states like Pakistan, like China, who would sell them this technology, would give them this technology if they were paid right. So they are very, very close to, they were very close to getting this. Now, once they are destroyed and they have to get back into redevelopment, get back to basic development, they will have to keep nuclear weapons to a secondary priority.
So you think that Israel will win this war?
Definitely.
Okay, Roopmati, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much to our special guest, Dr. Roopmati Khandekar, geopolitical analyst. I'm Jay Fidell, host of Global Connections, and we've been discussing Operation Rising Lion versus Operation Promise the Third. Thank you so much to our viewers for watching. We'll see you again soon for the next one. Aloha. Aloha, Roopmati.
Aloha, Jay. Thank you so very much.